Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Happy Tuesday. Here we are as always. Hi, Melissa. Yeah, happy Tuesday. And yeah, you stopped in for a couple minutes. I know you're busy, so I wasn't quite sure. Thanks for stopping by. Um, Hope everybody's doing great as always. Still, Tuesday's still in the beginning part of the week, so hopefully your week is starting out well and shaping up for a great rest of the week. Um, Question is, how are you feeling today, yesterday, Sunday? The Mars Uranus conjunction that we have talked a whole lot about um, in various ways over the last several weeks. It's been mentioned lots and lots of different times. Was exact yesterday, so still definitely within that energy. We talked last week about how it was building and we were coming into it. Still definitely in effect through the rest of this week. So lots of people feeling it in lots of different ways. So just inviting you before we even get started with the intention or anything, just think about kind of what has happened, how you have felt, how you've communicated. Just think about the events of the last couple days and just think on that for just a moment. So I'll give you just a minute to do that. It's a different start. Nothing too in-depth, too major, too analytical. Just checking in with what has happened within the last couple days here and just kind of getting into the space of that energy. And then we'll bring up our intention. This week, motivation moves the mind. Motivation moves the mind. Reminder that the signs that you see in the bottom corner in the circle are the signs that the moon is going to move through the week. So looking from Sunday to Sunday, it's a quick glance at what signs the moon's going to be moving to, and then you can put that within your own, layer that onto your own chart, and then think about what houses the moon are going to be moving through. The moon will be moving through this week, and that will, it's a little guide. So just want to remind that. I throw that out there every once in a while. So this week, motivation moves the mind. If this is the first time you've heard this, see how that feels. A couple things to kind of contemplate and think on today. Reminder that the intention is always released on Sunday, so that way you can take a peek at it yourself if you would like to ahead of time. I encourage you to do that because although I hope you get lots of really good stuff from what I have to say here and what is all shared here, comes from this space, there's also really good things that you can get from your own contemplation of the intention. Even if you don't know the astrology behind it and the logic and how I approached it and how I came to it and how it came to be, with that energy surrounding all of us and just being in the ethers, that intention is going to resonate within you somehow if you focus on it and give it time to kind of work and kind of steam a little bit. So that's why I give it to you ahead of time, so that way you can just kind of see what comes up with it yourself. So like I mentioned, yesterday was Mars-Uranus conjunction that we have been talking about. A couple other little aspects, but that's the main one that we have this week. So 26 degrees of Taurus is where Uranus and Mars have conjoined. Mars has now moved on to about 27, moving on to 28 degrees. I have the chart pulled up, but it's on the full moon. It's not on this moment. So starting to separate, but still definitely right there with each other. So this is that new cycle of Mars and Uranus that we have been talking about. Last conjunction was August 1st, 2022. So think back to August or the summer of 22. Think about kind of what has been seeded there. I'm giving you lots of reflection points today because I want you to kind of start to see these cycles and these processes within your own life and your own chart. So think about what started in the summer of 22. What kind of was initiated? What movements? What kind of breakthroughs? What kind of enlightenments? What was started or initiated that was maybe a little bit different than before? Uranus gives you this like shocking, stark difference. So typically there is something around that time that you can think of that was kind of started or initiated or really kind of kicked into gear in some way. So August 2022, that brings us to now, to yesterday, to July 15th, 2024. This cycle is going to take us through the next, it's approximately 2 years. So until June 4th of 2026. So we have a new cycle of creativity, a new cycle of innovation, breakthroughs, enlightenment, that ability to assert ourselves and to move forward in some sort of brave and courageous way that we were having difficulty before on the most positive level. There are awakenings of motivations and a changing of perspective and an awakening of ambitions along with those motivations when you have Mars and Uranus come together. When they come together in the sign of Taurus, in a solid sign, you get motivations and ambitions of a solid form, of an earthly material form of some kind. So Mars and Uranus coming together in the sign of Taurus, you get this like strong sense of ability, this strong sense of breaking through boundaries and moving past some sort of limitations, but you get that in a physical or a material type way somehow. So that can relate to the body, that can relate to our assets and our wealth and the possessions that we have. Anything that has to deal with the material and the physical plane is where we're working. And so, Taurus being that solid earth sign that kind of just keeps chugging along, things that are initiated within the sign of Taurus are a little bit difficult to, can be a little bit difficult to change because Taurus is a little resistant to change. So I think that brings a little extra cue of mindfulness just because of that solidness, of that weightiness. That comes along with it. So where we need that extra mindfulness, not that it brings the extra mindfulness. Sorry if that was not quite clear there. But there's this new seeding point here of some sort of noteworthy change within where Taurus is within our own life. It may be piggybacking off of kind of what was initiated in 2022 because that conjunction was in Taurus as well. The one before that, which would have been in 2019, was right at the very tail end of Aries. I believe it was actually at 28 or 29 degrees of Aries. So these two cycles, so it's approximately 4 years that you have where you can create this physical change where Taurus is within your own life. And where you see Taurus within your own life, in your own chart, there is a level of physicalness, a level of, I want to say like physical attraction, but not necessarily just like bodily physical attraction, like things that we desire, the things that make us, keep us comfortable, the things that bring us peace and stability. And so there is that, that physicality within the sign of Taurus. So, new seeding point here, new motivations. There can be Mars and Uranus coming together. You can definitely have those surprising things that kind of pull the rug out from underneath your feet. So surprising and breakthrough things, having that courage and like moving forward in ways that you never have, like that's kind of shocking and a little bit like out of the norm itself, right? Like, so like say, I don't know. Say you like really like to dance, but you only dance when you're by yourself or you're only with a couple people. Just coming off the top of my head here. Mars and Uranus come together, all of a sudden you're like at the club dancing around all of these other people and you're like center stage of the dance floor or something like that. People are watching you. So it's like something that could be not a huge thing to, that's actually kind of a pretty big example. But some things that, so like maybe a smaller example. So like, food. Let's think about something about food because that's a very Taurian type thing too. So maybe maybe you're somebody that does not like fruits and vegetables. Like you've never really enjoyed them, so you have not eaten a lot of them, but you know that they're really good for you. So Mars and Uranus come together in the sign of Taurus and you decide that you are going to start trying different fruits and vegetables, and you might not like the first thing that you buy, you might not like the first fruit or vegetable that you buy, but you're going to keep going and you're going to keep trying those different foods until you find until you find one that you like. And then when you find the one that you like, then you kind of stick with it because you're like, oh, this one works where there was all these other ones that did not. So then it's hard to get you to like maybe try other things after that, like that type of thing. That's a better example. But it could be a big thing, like going out to the dance floor, or it can be a small thing, like a small thing that isn't super noticeable to others, but it's super noticeable to on some level, like maybe to us. So very, very, very cool. And that is the main aspect that we have going on this week. Like I said, Mars and Uranus are coming together at 26 of Taurus, so that tells us that Mars is going to be leaving Taurus here very, very soon. And that is actually by Saturday. Mars will be in the sign of Gemini. So we have a little series of events that happen this week, which I think are a little bit kind of neat. So Mars and Uranus coming together on Monday. We have those breakthroughs, those enlightenments, those like the will to move differently, do something differently, do the thing. And then not much else in the beginning of the week, but then on Friday, we have Venus trining the North Node and sextiling the South Node, while at the same time we have Mars sextiling Neptune. So we have another Mars aspect coming by the end of the week. So we have one at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week, right before Mars moves into the sign of Gemini. So Mars sextiling Neptune. I always talk about Neptune as immersing yourself completely in something. To completely immerse ourselves in something, we have to probably fully detach from something else. Otherwise, we cannot fully focus, like that undivided attention type thing. That was a phrase I remember from school. So Mars sextiling Neptune, you have that cohesion between Mars and Neptune. So what does Mars, if Neptune fully immerses us in something, and Mars has will and motivation and drive, what are you going to fully immerse yourself in that you can, that it motivates you to move in a specific way? Where can you see some sort of potential to just fully go for something? So I see this right off of the heat, fresh off of the Mars-Uranus conjunction that gives you that like courage and that willpower. And then Mars comes into a sextile with Neptune, a positive Venusian flavored aspect. So it's a cohesion. They're working together and they're trying to find some sort of balance and harmony, how they can help each other. So Mars gets that boost of confidence, and then it sees the Neptunian thing, whatever that thing is that gets Mars's attention, whatever's getting your attention, and you can fully put yourself into it, all of your energy, fully immersed into it by the end of the week. So you have this progression from the beginning of the week towards the end of the week, from Monday to Friday. You have the possibility of like divine action and divine will and divine guidance, selflessness and service. There is almost a possibility for like a martyr potential, so where it goes almost too far. Mars Neptune can be a signature that you see in people that like are advocates for something, or they fight really hard for different causes and things like that. People that are very willing to fight for what they believe and fight for whatever the thing is that they're willing to fight for. So you have that courage at the beginning of the week. Now this could go either way too. This could go in a very positive way where you are like fully motivated and fully encouraged to go forward, and you just feel like you have the support of the universe within you by the end of the week. Or it could go into the end of not consciously thinking about it, and then we're kind of in like some sort of delusional state, or something that's not quite accurate, something that's a little bit skewed, because Mars and Uranus can make us just do something that's different without necessarily thinking about the consequences, and then we fully immerse ourselves in it. But we're focusing on the more positive end here for our meditation, of course. So, catch my breath here a minute. It's a cool process that we have. from Monday to Friday as Mars moves across these few degrees. And then, like I said, at the same time, we have Venus making positive aspects to both of the nodes. So this is a pull back to the eclipse energy that we have had, that has been around us. So how the eclipses have played out for you. There's a little bit of a pull back to it. There's this, when you have Venus in a positive aspect to the nodes. Remember, if we're in a trine to one, we're in a sextile to the other, and if we're in a square to one, we're in a square to another. So when you're in aspect to one of the nodes, since they're in opposition, you're going to be in some aspect to the other node as well. You can just plan on that because of the opposition. So when you have Venus coming into a positive contact with the nodes, you have this desire, and with what Mars is doing, maybe the ability to find some sort of balance. Working from a space of where you have been and where you're going. And you can take that on lots of levels. You can take that as like step 1, 2, and 3. Like I completed step 1, now I'm on step 2, and then I have step 3. Where we've come from and where we're going. It can be as far back in the past as you want. If you can go back, past through your life and through your ancestry into your past lives, and then the North Node can take us towards whatever we feel pulled towards, whatever feels like the future and what it seems like we're going towards, the things that we're pulled towards. So you have this Venusian pull towards creating some sort of balance and harmony and desire to make cohesion within our path where we've come from and where we're going. At the same time that Mars is fully immersing itself into this Neptunian energy. Feels like lots of motivation this week. Mars and Uranus, Mars and Neptune, Venus and the nodes. Feels like lots of motivation. So this is where our intention is coming from. Motivation moves the mind. Motivation moves the mind. Mars and Uranus come into a conjunction. Venus makes positive aspect to both the South and the North Node, while Mars is sextiling, positive aspect, a Venusian flavored aspect to Neptune. Lots of motivation. Lots and lots of motivation. Lots of encouragement is what it feels like this week. So whatever you're being encouraged towards, whether that's more on the positive and the beneficial side or more towards the, maybe negative and less beneficial side, there's a pull towards it. So there's lots of motivation. So the intention this week, motivation moves the mind. Excuse me. We have this series of aspects that we have in the beginning of the week, and then by Saturday, remember that Neptune's at 29 degrees. So that that sextile between Mars and Neptune is right at that very, very end degrees, very last degree of Taurus there. So as soon as Mars goes through this process that we're talking about this week, instantly turns around and moves into the sign of Gemini. Air sign of the mind. Motivation moves the mind. Motivation moves the mind. Mars, the planet of willpower, the planet of motivation and drives, ambition, what makes us move, what we feel passionate, what we feel strongly about, is going through this process of being empowered and fully immersed this week. And then makes this switch right into the sign of Gemini, into the airy sign that deals with our mental realm. So remember, our thoughts, our communications, the way we perceive things, the way we talk and interact with others, the way we talk and interact with ourselves as well. That whole mental environment that we are around. That's where Mars is moving. So it takes all of this motivation, all of this strong, solid Taurian energy, and it charges into the sign of Gemini, which is a sign that keeps moving on its own, fluidly. Gemini is the sign of the twins. So it's a fluid movement through duality of some kind. So we take this solidness of Mars, and then we put it we switch that motivation of Mars and that energy that we're coming off of, and then all of a sudden our mind is activated and our mind wants to move and do things. When Mars goes into the sign of Gemini, things might start moving kind of quickly for you. So if there's like lots of mental processes going on and things like that, probably what it is coming up here in this next little while. That can be a lot for some people. It can be a little anxiety inducing. It can be a little overstimulating. Mars and Uranus can be a little overstimulating too. I've kind of felt I've had some really, really good things happening, like definitely the breakthrough and enlightenment thing. But I've also felt the need to, like today, where like yesterday was really, really high on the Mars Uranus thing. Today felt like if I stay right there at that same level of Mars and Uranus, it's gonna kind of like burn me out a little bit. So I felt the need to kind of like pull back a little bit. Drink a little more water than I normally do. Drink a little less coffee. We had soup tonight for dinner because I just wanted something, like something filling, but something just kind of low key and just kind of, like hold back and a little reserved. Just something a little bit simple, I guess. So that's just a little tidbit about how it's been going here for me. You take all this motivation and then Mars moves into Gemini. When Mars moves into Gemini, into 0 and 1 degrees, we know that Pluto is sitting at the beginning at 1 degree of Aquarius, so we know that we have an aspect there. We have a trine between Mars and Pluto. So, talk about amping up the willpower and the power and the drive and the almost instinctual, like, primal drive to like where it's almost like things that we don't maybe necessarily think about. I don't want to say not think about, that's not the word that I'm looking for, but like those primal instincts and ambitions, those things that just kind of happen, those gut reactions and those instincts that just kind of kick in and we don't really realize until like we're already in that mode. Courage, willpower, strength, expansion of deep stuff, whatever that means to you. There's a possibility of that as Mars comes into aspect with Pluto. Remember that the trines expand things. And Pluto is not always easy. Pluto shows us things that we need to be shown in order to deal with them. Pluto and Mars can bring a little bit of, I was going to say tension, but I'm thinking more like brashness and a little bit more like aggressiveness. So Mars and Pluto together can just really be like full force. So you see how there's this like crescendoing of this week where like by the end of the week, starting at this week or starting at the beginning of this week, there's this like crescendo of energy and this motivation. How can we use that to move our mind? How can we use that to stimulate our mental processes, stimulate our neurons, and move forward onto the next cycle of Mars and Uranus, move on to the next transit of Mars moving through the sign of Gemini, move through the next step of Mars and Pluto, and the next step and the next phase of where the eclipses are playing out in our lives right now with that nodal activity that we have going on this week. So, and then the moon, talk about a crescendo, the moon is growing too. We have a full moon on Sunday, so it's technically next week, but it'll be before we meet here again. That's that full moon, that second full moon in the sign of Capricorn at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So talk about another crescendo. We've talked about how that 29 degrees is that completion and that like fulfillment. So we're reaching that height of the Capricorn full moon here by the end of the weekend. And these aspects that we're talking about are all in play for the full moon. The one that maybe would start to be on the separating end would be Mars and Uranus, but there's so much Mars activity going on that it probably will probably feel like it's just kind of a continuum, I would feel like. So lots of energy going on this week, but lots of cool energy and things that we can do things with, things that we can work with, and we can motivate, we can move, we can meld and form things different ways once we move into the sign of Gemini. Taurus is a little more solid, a little more sturdy, but you kind of need to like stand your ground and or sometimes, and not always, but sometimes you kind of need to like stand your ground and like affirm, not make something firm, but like affirm that what's going to happen, like what the process is going to be or what the steps are that you're going to take. And then you have the flexibility once you're decide that you're actually in the thing to go forward and fluidly move through things like Gemini does. So Mars in the sign of Gemini is very swift moving and able to shift itself. So there could be some ability to be flexible, but be flexible in a way that works well for us. Not being flexible just like as a people pleaser. Gemini can be that way a little bit sometimes, but moving swiftly like in ways that will benefit us or help us get to our motivations or our ambitions or whatever the final step is. So cool stuff. Looking at the comments here really quick. Oh, hey, Nikita, busy day. Yeah, well, busy day. It's a lot. It's probably a busy week too. So, but hopefully you're having a good day, a good busy day. And thank you for making it. Melissa, living in the flow state and let things happen. Yeah, just sometimes when we have Mars aspects, it kind of makes us want to push against something, resist something, try to like force something, and that's not always. It's more that instinctual thing. It's more that like gut primal instinct thing, which isn't isn't referring to any one specific instinct. It can be the instinct to spend time with or without somebody. It can be an instinct to go to a place or not go to a place. It can be, primal instinct for survival of some kind. Lots of different ways that could be. So, cards for today. We ended up with 4. Not that I intentionally did it. It's just the way they came out, and I will show you that. So 2 tarot cards that popped out at the same time. Together. Super. I love these cards today, you guys. These are super cool. This is I knew with what was going on this week that this was going to be a really great session, but then once I pulled the cards, I'm like, yeah, this is really good. Nikita, you went and saw your dad. I am so happy for you. That is great. Without saying too much or anything like that, Nikita could definitely use some love and prayer sent her way for her dad. So I love that you got to see your dad today. That is really great. So first card that came out was the King of Pentacles. The King is a mastery card of Earth of Pentacles, and what do we got going on in the sign in an earth sign right now in the sign of Taurus? We have this completion. We have from 26 through and 20. We have like degree 26 and 29 being activated of Taurus through the aspects this week. So the King of Pentacles is showing us a completion or a mastery level or an accumulation through hard work of the physical, material pentacles of the earthly things that we need. So the King of Pentacles showing up here when I see that we're starting the second Mars-Uranus cycle in the sign of Taurus. We're completing what Uranus has to do in the sign of Taurus for this period of our life. We're starting the second phase. So like if it's part 1 and part 2, we're starting part 2. And the King of Pentacles has, if you look at the Rider-Waite deck, it shows like a king sitting on a chair and the kingdom is behind him and there's lots of riches and wealth and different things. I can't exactly remember what the items are. But the king has what he needs. The king has security. The King of Pentacles has physical security. So you have the materials and the resources that you need to go forward with whatever is in front of you, even if it doesn't feel like you do. The next card that came up at the same time right along with it is the Queen of Swords. Super, super cool, guys, that not only did we get a king and a queen, we got both of these high mastery level. We got the high masculine and the high feminine, so we have that duality. We have that balance and that harmony of these the two energies working together, that masculine and feminine that is in every single one of us. But we have a pentacles and we have swords. Pentacles representing earth, swords representing air. What is Mars doing? Mars is moving from an earth sign to an air sign. And, the King of Pentacles, so the king being a masculine energy is more of a giving, more of a teaching. That masculine energy asserts itself a little bit more. So it's taking everything that we've accumulated. The queen, the feminine energy, it's helpful and it's supportive, but it's supportive in a more inward way. So that feminine energy, where the king energy supports us in a knowledge and more outward way, the queen supports us in a more inward and listening way. So the queen rules over her people, but because she cares for her people in an emotional way. She's there and she's connected to her people. So we have this pushing forward of earth. We have this pushing forward of wealth and abundance and material things that help us, the things that are going to physically benefit us and make the tools that are going to make things easier. But then we have the Queen of Swords that is saying you have this high feminine mental energy that is coming in as well. And so with that, having the resources that you need, but then having that mental connection, that mental ability to receive and to listen, and to work with that and to listen to the messages that are coming through, listening to what other people are saying, listening to what is working, what is not. Super, super cool energy of these two cards working together. And then for the Oracle card, I was shuffling and the Great Teacher popped out. Can you see the artwork on there? These are so pretty. These cards are so pretty. I hope you guys like my other tarot deck I've been using too, because I really, really enjoy those. Great Teacher, learn from spiritual experiences. Mars, Neptune. Those of us that are participating in this meditation, there is probably some, although we may have different spiritual and religious beliefs, there is something spiritual and religious within us, I would imagine. It doesn't have to be, but I would imagine there's some level of, whether something is instilled within you or just deep within you, there's at least a curiosity of it or something like that. So the spiritual experiences can be different for each and every one of us. Spiritual experiences can be sitting in meditation and having these enlightening messages come through and, feeling that you have all of these answers within you. Spiritual experience can be somebody that is playing guitar and they enjoy playing songs and hearing the notes as they strum on guitar. I have seen many, many musicians that there is this deep felt connection when they are when they're playing music. So learning from the experiences that are different for each and every one of us, especially this week, towards the end of the week with Mars and Neptune, looking for those messages, because there's that spiritual aspect of Neptune within it. I chuckled to myself as I was pulling these cards. Actually, my husband looked at me like, "What are you laughing about? I hear you chuckling over there." Because I pulled this one out, or it popped out, it fell out, and then I just kind of had that first thought of well, what if this isn't the card? What if I'm pushing this a little bit too hard or a little bit too, what if I just, I don't know. What if I'm pushing it too quickly and this isn't the card that popped, even though it clearly popped out? So I sat it down next to me and I started shuffling again, and I shuffled for a little while. And the card that popped up the second time was the Wise One. So we go from the Great Teacher to the Wise One. And I just laughed because it just felt like the deck telling me, do not second guess yourself. Listen to your intuition and know that what the cards are telling you is true. Because if not, you're just going to pop up with the next best thing to basically get you right back around to the same story. So the great teacher, learning from spiritual experiences. And then the wise one, grow within your current situation. Grow within your current situation. Mars and Uranus can bring a little bit of that tension and things that pull the rug from underneath our feet. So how can you grow from within your situations, and how can this be a spiritual experience that connects you deeper, whether it's to yourself, greater universal energy, to God, to Creator, whatever it is for you. I also, there's just such duality in these cards today, guys. Man, I just keep staring at these. We have the King and the Queen in the tarot, and then we have like the imagery on these. So we have the great teacher and we have the wise one. Feels very king and queen to me as well. Beautiful, beautiful. So that's what I have as far as the cards. That's what I have as far as the astrology. It's a cool week. If you feel pulled to do something constructive, if you feel pulled to move a little bit differently, go for it. Within reason, go for it. I don't think you'll be disappointed as long as it's within reason. So that's what we have for all of that, and then we will get into our meditation here, getting into the next part. So I will leave the intention up for another moment here, so you can take a peek at it if you need to. Motivation moves the mind. Motivation moves the mind. Taking the intention off here so we can see our intentional candle. As always, it's white and it's leaning. Sorry, candle. There we go. Okay. As always, the candle is white, purity, clarity, amplification. Change this candle color to any color that you want it to be. If you want it to stay white, it can stay white. If you have a different color that you would like it to be, there's a color that comes to your mind, you can change it in your mind's eye. And it's easier to do that with it being white than if it was another color. So I'm going to light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to recite the intentional phrase, and I encourage you to go ahead and recite it with me, whether it's out loud or to yourself, however works for you, wherever you are at the moment. So going to light our intentional candle here. So flame ignites, flame grows, and as we see the flame on the candle grow, so does our intention. Motivation moves the mind. Motivation moves the mind. What are you motivated by at this moment? What are your ambitions and your motivations that are at hand? It's okay to have one. It's okay to have 5. It's okay to have more than that. What's going on in your mind? What have you been thinking about? What mental processes have been going on? What are the thoughts that have been coming in and out of your mind? What are the words that you have been speaking? Think about the tone of your voice recently. Just acknowledging, just observing. There's no need to make any sort of judgment of whether it's positive or negative. And then we take our focus to our breath. Before making any changes, as always, let's start by acknowledging the quality of the breath that we came to this space with. Does your breath feel full and fulfilling, or does it feel slightly rushed and not quite complete? Are your breaths deep or are they shallow? Is it hard or is it easy to take a deep breath? After we've taken just a moment to sit with where we are, moving as swiftly as Mars does today. And then we start to deepen the breath. Here our only goal is to have each inhale slightly deeper than the one before it. And on the exhale, we aim to have each release of breath slightly longer than the one before it. Continuing the process of breathing in and out, slowly and deeply, giving you the freedom to craft that breath yourself. Coming to a place of stillness within your own body. Amongst the chaos that is around us, amongst the events of life, amongst the peace that is around us, we can come to a space within as long as we have our breath. As you continue breathing in and out, slow and steady, but deeply at the same time. With each round of breath, you start to notice that you feel lighter and lighter. Each inhale brings forward energy from the ethers around us that lift you up and fill you completely. Each exhale releases a stress or a tension or a strain, or tightness within our body. And as we continue this process of breathing in and out, knowing that on each inhale, that beautiful life-sustaining air is entering our body, filling us with the oxygen and the energy that we need. Releasing on the exhale, letting go of one stress or one tension at a time. Slowly but steadily, you feel lighter and lighter till you feel almost as if you're floating just slightly above the space that you are resting on. As this higher vibration raises and lifts you up you feel grounded and firm at the same time. There is a tug and a pull between this energy that is lifting you up and this grounding energy that is keeping you solid on the ground. Much of the time, it's good to have a balance, something pulling us upward, something pulling us downward. Keeping a balance and a level of homeostasis within our body. However, at times, we need to focus on one or the other. Sometimes we need to ground deeply and come within our own space. Other times we need to take what we have gained from that groundedness, that confidence, and that knowing that support is always just behind us. And we need to release ourselves from the ground and soar forward and upward. So here I invite you to untie yourself from the ground, knowing that you can continue to carry that grounded energy. As you untie yourself from the surface below you, feel that surface with your hands, either in your mind's eye or physically. Feel that connection, although you have released the tether holding you to the ground. Feel that deep support and that connection within your hands. And know that you can feel that connection and remember how that earth and that surface below you feels on your hands and how supportive it is. Come back to that grounding. Similar to a baby bird making its way away from the nest, or similar to a child that runs off to the playground, playing confidently, knowing that mom and dad are just a few feet behind if anything is needed. You bring your hands off of the ground, whether it's physically or metaphorically. And you allow yourself to be lifted up higher and higher, higher and higher. Allowing, flowing, moving gently. Find yourself floating through the air, completely fulfilled and exploring, yet knowing that your support and your safety can be called back at any time. As you are floating about, you notice what thoughts come and go, what feelings, what you might see. And you start to notice something ahead of you. You see something moving, spinning, and you start to notice that there's some lights and some music up ahead. And here, in front of you, as you get closer and closer, you notice that there is a carousel in front of you. Carousel just like the one that you have ridden at fairs and amusement parks. You start to see all of the lights across the top of the carousel. You start to see the different animals that you can ride on. You notice that some of them will be stationary, some of them will move up and down. Some of them look more like a chair. Some of them are a little more free-floating. And as you move towards this carousel, you step onto the carousel and you notice the brilliant gold flooring that you are standing on. Bright, shiny, almost reflective. Supporting you fully as you stand on the floor of this ride. And as you make your way towards the seat that you are going to take, you start to notice the different shapes and the different animals and the different seats that are all around the carousel. You find the perfect spot for you to sit. What does it look like? What do you see in your mind's eye? Trusting yourself fully, knowing that it's coming within, not something made up by your imagination. What colors do you see? How does it make you feel? So you sit down and you prepare for the carousel ride that is about to begin. You instantly notice that as the ride starts, all of the seats are taken. The people that are sitting in the seats are all people that you know. Who do you see? What do they look like? Are they happy? Are they smiling? Are they sad? Are they indifferent? Do any of them have any messages to bring? As the ride starts to move, the carousel starts to spin slowly. You look out the space around the carousel, and you start to see different scenes that you are passing by. You notice that these are scenes of the current activities going on within your own life. Notice what events, what scenes, what people come up as you spin around and around slowly on the carousel. It's moving slowly and leisurely. And slowly the pace begins to pick up as the ride moves faster and faster. You start to see all of the events and the scenarios that are on the outside of the ride starting to blend together. As they start to blend together, you start to see and feel this interconnectedness of each and every one of the events and how it relates to your path at this moment. Reflecting on all that is going on within our life at the forefront. Perhaps focusing on everything going on in our life is a little too exhausting, but the things that come up, those are at the forefront. As the ride continues to move faster and faster, all of the scenes begin to blend together to when you can't even differentiate any of them. You just see bright, brilliant colors mixing and swirling together, creating a beautiful display of colors and patterns, artwork, an abstractness that seems just so beautiful and so fulfilling. This swirling light around you, all of the different colors, all the different patterns, all the chaos and all the beauty, your life surrounding you. That which surrounds us sometimes is overwhelming, sometimes is exhilarating, sometimes it brings us joy, sometimes it brings us sadness. Sometimes we have many emotions all at one time. No matter what is going on around the carousel, no matter how many lights, no matter how many colors you see, no matter how much you want to move towards it or push away from it, there's no need to do either. Because as the world is swirling around you, you are on your carousel. You are solid and firm on the ride in the seat of your choice. Even if we sometimes forget that. And you feel the calm motion of the ride moving up and down, the laughter of those enjoying the ride around you, that childlike joy that we have all felt at one point or another. If you've never rode a carousel, never been on a merry-go-round, picture a movie or a scene where you see people enjoying this ride and event. All of a sudden, this carousel that has been moving and circling, patterns and beautiful, vibrant colors around us, swirling and swirling. The carousel stops. You look over your right shoulder, and you notice your life directly right there in front of you. What is the first thing that you see? Without taking your sight off of your life and your path in front of you, you instantly jump down from your seat effortlessly and easily, and move towards your life. You move towards your path with confidence, with assurance of grounding, with the enlightenment and the expansiveness that fills you within from without. Moving forward confidently with the ambition, drive, and motivation to handle whatever comes our way. The good and the bad, the desirable and the undesirable. You have the strength, you have the power, and you have the support to move forward with motivation, with desire, with a connection to your mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you, not only for showing up here for myself in this weekly, lovely weekly event that we have here, but most importantly, thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for coming here and creating a space for you to experience the duality that is within our lives. Nice deep breath. Thank you, thank you, thank you all of you for being here. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you find whatever motivation it is that you need this week, whether it's a big one or a little one. I hope you find the willpower and the strength to move forward, and I'll see you next week. Full moon, 29 Capricorn on Sunday. I will see you 2 days after that. So I hope as the moon is moving through the third quarter and into the waxing gibbous phase, as it's growing in illumination, you feel that crescendoing of not only the illumination of the moon, our environment and our emotions and the way that we connect to others, that queenly energy within the moon. I hope you feel that crescendoing as these aspects of Mars also ramp up this motivation right before Mars turns and moves into Gemini, into the sign of the mind, the sign that wants to put the pieces together and pull them apart and rework them and change them and keep it in this fluid state until whatever works really, really, really well. So, thank you, all of you, and I will see you all again next week. So, thank you, bye, and like I've said before, reach out at any time, always here. So, bye, have a great week. Thanks again.